So yeah, let's get started. So time will start when I confirm my starting character, and the time will end on the last cutscene of the last chapter that I finish, and I'll give a heads up when that time's gonna come. There is in fact a all-female story. Alright, so we're gonna start with Cyrus, and I'll explain why later when we start with Cyrus. So the moment I click yes, that's when time is going to start. So I'm gonna give a countdown, so it'll be on go. 3, 2, 1, go. So 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so we're gonna start with Cyrus. The reason why we start with Cyrus is he's gonna give us the earliest access to a skill called Evasive Maneuvers, and Evasive Maneuvers is a skill that increases the distance that we can travel without getting an encounter by a factor of about 2.5 times. So it's a very powerful skill, and it's essential for the speedrun. And that's the reason why all speedruns of this game revolve around getting evasive maneuvers as soon as possible. So we're just going to make our way through Cyrus's chapter 1. Each character has 4 chapters, and chapter 1s are basically tutorials. We're going to be introduced to the mechanics of this game, and right now we're going to be introduced to Cyrus's pop action. It's basically something that allows him to interact with the NPCs in this game. So Cyrus's path action is Scrutinize. This allows him to interrogate NPCs, and this is going to give him information. And right now we're just going to use it to make our way through his story, but this Scrutinize path action can also be used to get information to complete quests. It can be used to uncover hidden items, basically give us more resources. And we're going to make use of Scrutinize quite a bit throughout this run. So, but of course, we know the answers because we're speedrunners.
Yes.
Also, I'm playing in English. There's a reason why... there are a few reasons why I'm playing in English. It's because, for the most part, it doesn't make a difference, but some characters have shorter lines in English. And one of the characters in this run has pretty long lines in Japanese when you go into battle, so we're playing in English, and also because the voice lines are really great in English, lots of nice memes. Cool voice, cool lines. We're gonna purchase and equip the Quartz Rod. This is going to increase our elemental attack, basically allow us to get through this chapter a lot easier. And you saw me scrutinize a bunch of soul stones. So soul stones are consumable items which deal fixed damage to your opponent, so they're very useful, especially when in a speedrun our characters aren't going to be very powerful. So we've done our research on this guy. We know that it's weak to staff, and now we just take it out with Fireball. Alright, so let me just explain the battle system real quick. So each enemy has a certain number of shields and weaknesses. Every time you hit them for its weakness, their shields go down, and when they have no more shields, they become broken, and then they take more damage, and a bunch of other stuff. They lose the ability to move on that turn and the next turn. So we're killing some encounters here because we want to farm a bit of job points. That's going to allow us to learn evasive maneuvers later, and also going to pick up another soul stone here, and then we're going to go into our first boss battle of this run against Russell here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to want to take out the ads. The ads have a skill called Icicle here, which deals a lot of damage, and it's also kind of slow. So we want to take those out first. Oops. And gonna use the Thunder Soulstone, which I picked up in the palace, and this is gonna allow us to deal damage and break the ads. And gonna use the other soulstone to take them out. So gonna look at the turn order here and gonna heal up just to be safe. I did take quite a bit of damage there because it did use Icicle. And I'm gonna do this. Gonna break him. Boosting. Another mechanic of this battle system allows us to increase the number of hits we do. It also allows us to increase the damage that we do, and for buffs and debuffs it increases the duration. Alright, so this is the last turn. Just gonna fully boost my fireball here, and that will be enough to take Cyrus out. Cyrus, did I say Cyrus? I meant Russell. So yeah, that's the first boss battle, and right now just gonna finish up Cyrus's chapter 1, and then the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go and farm JP, job points, so we can get evasive maneuvers. So evasive maneuvers is a support skill, so support skills are just passive skills, and you unlock support skills by learning more skills from your base class. So Cyrus is a scholar, and the first 2 skills that he learns, he will unlock evasive maneuvers. So we're gonna aim to learn 2 more skills, and that's gonna take a total of 130 job points, and we just got 25 from our chapter 1. And outside Atlazam, we're gonna run into Kit, and he's really wounded. He needs some help, so we're just gonna ignore him because he doesn't do anything for us for the speedrun. So bye bye Kit. But now we're gonna go to the Whistlewood. This is a higher level area that's gonna give us the JP that we need for our grinding purposes. And along the way, I'm just gonna kill this just because we're in the marathon. It's a bit safer to kill it. So because I only killed 2 encounters in my chapter 1, I only have 25 JP now. Some encounters here won't be able to give me enough JP. So what we're looking for is bugs. We want bugs because those give a lot of JP. If we just get all frogs, it's not going to give us enough JP. So I'm gonna be looking for bugs. So this is not a good encounter because it's just frogs. It's not going to give us enough JP to get evasive maneuvers, so unfortunately this will be a death. And yeah, this is one of the heavier reset heavy points of this run. Luckily it's kind of early, and the great thing about Octopath Traveler for speedrunning is that even if you die, you just respawn in the previous screen, so not too much of an issue. I can just spend about 30-40 seconds and get another try. So we're gonna look for bugs. This is a good encounter. And caught by surprise. So this is a high level area, so there's a good chance that we will get ambushed by the enemies here. So we're gonna hope that we get our encounters soon. And again, we're gonna look for bugs, so that's one of the better encounters. And we also can kill any encounter with a Kate. So Kates are like special enemies. Oh, there we go. Talking about... Speak of the devil. So Kates are a rare encounter. In this map, it's 4% to get a Kate, and they give a lot of JP, as you can see. They give like a ton of JP. So now that we have enough JP, I'm gonna learn my 2 skills. And gonna equip evasive maneuvers, and now we can be on our way. Very nice. So yeah, Kates are like... Everyone loves Kates. Because they're rare and they give a lot of XP, JP. And they're cats. Who doesn't love cats, right? So now that we're done getting evasive maneuvers, we can essentially go and do this next phase of the speedrun we call exploration, which is where we are going to get resources that we can start picking up other characters with and rush through the rest of the run. So I'm going to tag Noble Court here because I'm going to be able to fast travel back to any town that I've visited. So it's a very nice mechanic in this game, really saves a lot of backtracking and unnecessary traveling. So while we're in the area, I'm just going to tag Noble Court, and now I'm going to go south of Atlas Dam because that's where I'm going to be wanting to go for my exploration. So yeah, so I haven't explained. So what I used to kill the encounter in Whistlewood was a medium soulstone, and soulstones come in 3 sizes. So on Russell, I used the small soulstones. Those deal 200 damage. Medium soulstones deal 1001, and large soulstones, which I'm gonna pick up later, deal 2007. And this is all to unbroken enemies. If an enemy is broken, they take twice the amount of damage, and if they are unbroken but they are weak to that element, they take 1.3 times the amount of damage. So keep that in mind because we're going to use that to our advantage. Also nice, I didn't get any encounters on these few screens. So right now I'm going to tag more towns. So one of the things we want to do in exploration is to go and tag towns so we can save on traveling later. Because I'm gonna have to go back and pick up one of the characters in one of the nearby towns, I'm gonna tag it first. And just gonna run from this encounter here. There's no point killing encounters like these because they don't give you any benefit. In fact, we don't kill any extra encounters in this run besides the ones that are forced, and of course boss battles because you have to do them to complete the story. So I'm going to tag Cobblestone here. Cobblestone is the hometown of Albrecht. He's a warrior and we're going to pick him up later. But like I said, we're going to do exploration first and get some of those soul stones that I was talking about, because that's what we're going to use to be that's what we're going to be using to pick up our characters in the early parts of this run. Soulstones are really powerful for this part of the run because the chapter 1 bosses don't have a lot of HP, so a lot of them are going to go down to a couple of stones. So this screen here is our first really kind of dangerous-ish screen. It's really long, so you can get an encounter on the way to Stoneguard, which we want to tag. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reset my step counter here by going to this screen here, and that makes it so that when I go to Stoneguard, I will not get an encounter, and it takes about maybe like 15 seconds or so to do this. So some runners might choose not to do it, but since we're in a marathon, it's really nice to have that added safety. Because if we die and we reload on the previous screen, we have to run through the screen again and we can get an encounter. So I'm going to reset my step counter again because I want to go to another screen north of here. And again, since Stoneguard is like really far away, we are going to run into encounters some of the time, sometimes. And because the encounter here is pretty strong, Cyrus is always going to get one shot by one of the enemies here. So basically, if we run into that encounter, it's yeah, you're not gonna have a good time. Alright, so this screen, if you're familiar with Octopath speedrunning, almost every run comes to this screen. There's a very good reason. Firstly, I'm going to save and reload the save file, and what this does is it also resets the step counter. Basically allows us to make it to this next area here without an encounter. And again, because these are higher level areas, it's going to be really bad if we run into encounters. So I haven't talked about shrines. Shrines are where you can pick up secondary jobs for your characters. So it's like Final Fantasy V, where you're able to give subclasses to your characters. And the merchant shrine here, the merchant class, is going to be probably the most important shrine that we picked up, that we pick up, because the merchant class has access to this skill called Hired Help, which is where you pay money to deal damage. So it's a pay to win skill, but the highest tier of Hired Help, which is vets or veterans or vets for short, you pay 30,000 leaves and you deal just a truckload of damage to your enemies. So it's really useful, and it's going to be the main source of damage for this run. And that's one of the reasons why we need to do exploration as well, is to go and get the money to be able to use veterans. And even though it's super expensive, it's totally worth it to go and get the money to use this skill, because it's going to make our boss fights so much easier. So I'm going to tag Goldshard because I need to go back there. Going to scrutinize the man by the entrance. And going to pick up the item later. Not going to pick it up now because we don't need it now. And I'm going to scrutinize this NPC here. And this is going to allow me to complete a quest later, which is going to give me more money. But of course, Cyrus being Cyrus, he fails a 72% scrutinize. So this next screen here, I'm just going to get this 20,000 leaves here, which are just lying around. And I'm going to do another save and quit here, and then I'm going to go to another area to pick up more money. So leaves are the currency in this game. Some people call it dollars just for the lulz, but it's not. There isn't a lot of money, so. And hired help being hired help. Oh no, I didn't get a burst skip. Hired help being hired help, it's really expensive, so we're gonna try to make very good use of the money, the little money that we find. So gonna go into Lock of the Lost King. Gonna pick up more soul stones. There's a large soul stone here, and then I'm gonna pick up another 30,000 leaves that are just lying around for people to take. And we're gonna warp back to Cobblestone. So that's the first part of our exploration done. And now we can start to pick up characters. So the first character that we want to pick up is Therion. So Therion's everyone's favorite thief. He is very important to pick up because he has a special ability which allows us to unlock certain chests that are purple in color. And these chests are very important because they have a lot of strong items and money as well. So I'm gonna tag Sunshade here, not because we're gonna pick up a character here, but because it's the closest town to another town that we want to go to later. So the next place I'm gonna head to is to Query Quest. This is just to start Cyrus's Chapter 2. When you go into a new town and you can start like a new chapter, it will prompt you at the entrance, and you want to accept, and you want to start the chapter if you can. Basically, you always want to start a chapter, because if you say no, you have to go to the tavern and restart it manually, so it's not worth it. And you don't have to finish the chapters immediately. You can just like do them. You can do like part of them and then leave and come back later when you're stronger. And Query Quest is like in the middle of here in Boulderfall, which is where we're gonna pick up Therion. So we're just gonna tag Query Quest just so we can warp back later, and then we're gonna pick up Therion. So yeah, this game has some really beautiful graphics. It's kind of like a blend between 2D and 3D. And the soundtrack's also like fully orchestrated. It's really, really good. Probably one of the best soundtracks that I've ever heard in a video game. Alright, so yeah, like I said, I'm gonna start Cyrus's chapter 2. Golden Axe. I could pick up Golden Axe. It's gonna be pre-person, which is entertaining, I guess. So yeah, like I said, we're just gonna do the first part of this chapter 2. So it's kind of like chapter 1. You just have to scrutinize a bunch of people, and then you do a quiz, and then you go and face the boss. But instead of facing the boss, we're just gonna leave. And yeah, we know all the answers. It's just the one in the middle. But of course... Oops. So I'm gonna head over to Boulderfall now. We're gonna pick up Therion. And if you notice, like, the exploration that we did to the Grand Part area, there weren't any purple chests, and this is planned. We just need to go to the Grand Part area to pick up stones so that we can pick up Therion. And then for the next part of exploration, we're gonna use Therion to open up those purple chests. We get the encounter here. It's kind of normal. This screen is really long. Fortunately, it's like no big deal. You can just run from it.
Now, what next?
Probably not a chest that that's important. Basically, the important chest we're gonna pick up after we pick up Therion, which I'll explain later. But yeah, Therion's a really great character to have in your playthroughs, or just for this run in general. It makes routing a lot easier just because you have access to a lot more money with Therion and a lot of strong weapons. So I mentioned before that, like, going to a different screen resets your step counter. This is kind of a special kind of map though. Like in Mance type dungeons like these, the step counter doesn't reset when you go to another screen, so that's why I got the encounter here, even though I went through one screen. Alright, so this is Heathcote. He's a butler. Everyone say hi, Heathcote. And now everyone say bye, Heathcote.
Don't start things you can't finish.
So yeah, as you can just see, that's the power of Soulstone. So Heathcote has about 2,800 HP. The stats of the chapter 1 bosses scale according to how many characters you have. So with 2 characters in our party and picking up Therion, Heathcote's gonna have about 2,800 HP. So if you remember, large soulstones deal 2,700 damage to unbroken enemies. But because Heathcote was weak to the element of stone that we were using, it dealt 3,500 damage, which is gonna be enough to take him out. Yeah, this game. So that theme, the boss theme, Decisive Battle 2, that's probably like one of the more iconic soundtracks in this game. It's a really great boss theme. And Square being Square likes to name their songs Decisive Battle. So yeah, I mentioned there's Decisive Battle 2, there's Decisive Battle 1 as well, which is also a very great theme. Now we're gonna pick up this Hunter Shrine. Hunter's gonna have some very useful skills to finish this, to do this run with. It also gives our characters access to bows and axes, which is gonna be very significant later for one of our equipment setups. So we're really just going around and preparing for the rest of the run. So this part of the run is pretty chill. Like just running around listening to some really great background music. Once in a while, maybe you run into a battle or two, but that's fine because the music's great as well. This screen though, this screen's a bit risky. There's nothing you can do about it really. It's just a really long screen and it's a very high level area, so if you get an encounter here, yeah, it's not very good for us, but basically what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to make it to the save point here, which I do, so that's really good. So we're gonna come to Dust Barrel because it's just in the area. And we're gonna have to come back here later for Cyrus's Chapter 4. And while we're in Dust Barrel, we can just start looting the entire place. We're gonna go to the shop first. We're gonna purchase some very important items. Gonna purchase a grate. And I'm gonna purchase 2 of these and 6 of these. Okay, so what I purchased there were concoct ingredients. And concoct is Alphen's special skill. And I'll explain more later, but essentially it's like the reason why Alphen is so good. So after looting Dust Barrel for 30,000 leaves, which are just kind of just lying in the middle of town and nobody's taking them for some reason. I guess it's because it's locked in a purple chest and everyone's like, oh, I don't know how to unlock this chest, so guess I'll just leave it there. But good thing Therion can unlock it, so it's really nice to be able to get that money. And now we're gonna go to this area, Avrohold Tunnels. And this is a very important map to go to. It's gonna have 2 of the most important weapons that we're gonna use in this run, on top of giving us some pretty useful items and money as well. So picked up a soulstone. Now I'm going to pick up a pomegranate. So pomegranates are items that replenish boost points instantly. So I mentioned boost points earlier. The boost points that you use to increase the damage of your skills and stuff. Oh no! Oh no! Got a cat! Another cat! This is marathon luck right here, guys. Guys and girls. So yeah, this screen, Avrohold Tunnels, is a really dangerous screen. It's really long, and because it's a really high level area, if we get an encounter here, we're just gonna die. But the items here are so important and so useful that it's always worth it to come here. But no biggie, we just reload at the previous screen. Now I can try again, hopefully you don't get it again. Yep, that's great. So what I did was I went to the end there. There's an optional boss at the end of this dungeon, and before you face it, the game asks you if you're ready. And obviously we're not going to fight it, so we're going to say no. But what that actually does is it also resets the step counter, so that's why you see me going back to the boss trigger in between getting these items. So once you get to the end there, you're pretty much safe. The first part is the risky part. So I picked up 35,000 leaves. And now I'm gonna pick up 2 weapons. The Death Cleaver and the Knowledge Staff. So these are some of the strongest weapons that you can get in this game, and they're just there for the taking, so there's no reason not to get them. And that's also the reason why you want Therion, because the knowledge staff is in the purple chest, and it's a really strong staff, very useful as well, for reasons I'll explain later. I'm gonna equip it right away and give Alphen a Death Cleaver as well. Death Cleaver is, yeah, one of the strongest axes in this game, and we're gonna use both these items, the knowledge staff and the Death Cleaver, for a majority of this run. And you're gonna see immediately why these items, how strong these items can be. So Viper here is going to have about 4,200 HP, about there, 42. So normally what we would do, or normally like what other categories would do, is probably use a large soulstone for the weakness and then use a medium soulstone. But we actually don't have a stone that hits for Viper's weaknesses, so we're forced to use the light soulstone here, which is only going to deal 2007. But because we have very strong weapons, we can just use those to deal the rest of the damage instead. So I taunt Blizzard, it's going to hit Viper for the weakness here, and then use the light soulstone. Yep, that's enough for this fight.
Don't start things you can't finish.
So right after this boss, I'm going to purchase some more concoct ingredients, and this is now a good time to explain what concoct is. It's Alphen's special skill. Oops. Gonna purchase these and 2 of these. So it's concocted's Alphen special skill, and this allows, it's basically where he mixes together ingredients, because he's an apothecary and he makes medicine and stuff like that, and potions. So concoct lets Alphen mix ingredients together, and this produces various effects like breaking, taking enemy shields, and also replenishing HP, SP, BP, stuff like that. So Alphen's a character that's really geared towards support with his concoct ability, and some of the concocts are really strong and make Alphen very valuable for pretty much any category that makes use of him. So if you recall, we scrutinized the man at the entrance here, and that gave us an item which we didn't pick up. Now we're going to pick it up because right after this cutscene we're really close to it. So small optimizations like this that you might spot throughout this run. And the reason why we're doing this part of Alphen's Chapter 2 now is because we're going to need that specific Thunder L to pick up Albrecht, because his boss is weak to Thunder. So we're gonna need that Thunder L for a bit of additional damage. So we're not going to do the rest of the Chapter 2 now, obviously. I'm gonna finish the quest here, which I scrutinized the man outside Goldshore for. So this is gonna give me 11,000 leaves, which is quite a bit of money. And then I'm gonna pick up another 4,005 here. And I'm gonna inquire this man, and then I'm gonna warp out. And why I'm doing this is because the next time I'm back in Goldshore, it's gonna put me on the first screen. So then I can go and finish the rest of the chapter from there, because I have to go back to the first screen anyway. So instead of running back all the way to the first screen, I just make use of the fast travel system. So now we're finally gonna pick up Albrecht. Yeah, we pick up Albrecht last because he doesn't really offer as much. There's a specific reason why we pick up these the characters in this order. Therion obviously for the purple chest, Alphen to get the Thunder L, and then it's just Albrecht left. And the knowledge staff also gives Cyrus a pretty large bonus to his speed stat, which influences how likely he is to go early. So it's very useful because like there are a few fights in this run that you kind of want Cyrus to go early just so he can clear those like small encounters really quickly with his spell. But obviously, because speed is very reliable, we aren't gonna make use of it. We aren't gonna rely on it. It's just a nice bonus. Also, I have to defend here, and yeah, use this Soulstone here. And Albrecht's not gonna do anything. You can just pass his turn. I want to defend with Cyrus and Elfin. Defending puts you at the start of the next turn, so you can basically act before Gaston here. And I need to defend to get one extra BP, so I can get a bit more damage on Gaston. He has about 5005 HP. So yeah, now we have Albrecht, Eisenberg or something. He puts on his blue suit, so you know he's really serious now. And right after finishing Albrecht's Chapter 1, it puts us right outside of Cobblestone. So this is a perfect time to do more exploration. Take advantage of the fact that we are required to be outside Cobblestone and go to this next area here. So I'm gonna pick up another shrine. So far we've picked up a few shrines. We picked up the Merchant Shrine, the Hunter Shrine. Now we're gonna pick up the Dancer Shrine. So the Dancer is a class geared towards support. It's a class that relies on buffs, that revolves around buffs. And we're gonna use the Dancer to increase the damage of our characters. So I mentioned that hired help was really powerful. And we're going to use hired help to deal a lot of damage. It's not based on us. It's actually really nice because hired help deals damage that isn't based on your stats. So it's able to bypass the fact that some of your characters aren't going to be set up for damage. But the nice thing about this category is that you also get access to some really strong weapons. And that basically allows the rest of your party to actually deal very good damage as well, on top of using veterans. So that's going to allow us to save a lot of money because we aren't going to need to use quite as many sets of veterans. And that's really good because we don't have a lot of money in this run. And picking up money also takes time, so the more money that you're able to save, the more time you are able to save, just because you don't have to pick up more money. And a lot of these weapons are in areas that are very convenient to go to, so there's no reason not to pick them up. So this next area here, Marcelim, we're gonna come here because there's some very nice items here. It's not gonna be, we're not gonna come back to Marcelim to do any complete anyone's stories, but the items here are so good that it's totally worth it to come here, and I'll explain what those are when we get there. So the first item we pick up here is the Viper Dagger. So it's similar to the Knowledge Staff and the Death Cleaver. And what you saw me do there was I did a glitch known as the home buffer glitch, or just the buffer glitch actually, because it's kind of, it originated from the Switch version where you kind of just like press your home button while trying to get through that boss trigger, and it actually creates a bit of lag that pushes you past the boss trigger. So that allows you to get the item behind without having to face the boss. And that item that we picked up behind the boss trigger was a Master Spear, and that's one of the strongest spears in this game, and we're gonna give that to Albrecht to let him do some nice damage later. And Albrecht's kind of interesting because his chapters have a lot of mandatory NPCs that you have to fight And obviously we're not gonna waste money by using vets on them, so we're gonna use the next best thing, which is to pick up, which is to use a weapon to take them out, and the Master Spear is gonna be very nice for that. So right now I'm gonna come to Noble Court, which I tagged earlier, and I'm going to start Therians Chapter 2. Therians Chapter 2 is a pretty long chapter. You have to go in between the first and second screen a lot. So I'm gonna do what I did in Goldshore, and for example, after this cutscene, I'm gonna have to go back to the first screen. So instead of doing that, I'm just gonna warp over to Query Quest and do Cyrus's Chapter 2 first. I'm gonna do this menu, so let me see. I'm gonna take up the knowledge stuff, gonna give Therion the Viper Dagger, and I'm gonna optimize Albrecht to give him all that armor that we picked up in Marceline. And I'm gonna give you Hired Help, Armor Corrosive, and give you Amputation, and Leg Hold Trap, and gonna give you Insight. So I'll explain what those are later. But I kind of glossed over the fact that we picked up a bunch of we picked up a bunch of items in Marceline. So we picked up some pretty nice armor in Marceline that's gonna beef Albrecht up quite a bit. He's gonna be the tank in this party, while Cyrus is gonna be dealing the damage with vets for the time being. And you're gonna see the power of veterans here.
I cannot fail.
And all the skills that I use are gonna be used here. So I'm gonna use, actually I can do a different fight here. So I'm gonna give Cyrus the pomegranate.
Out of my way.
Gonna use Armor Corrosive. This is going to increase the damage dealt from veterans by 1.5 times because Armor Corrosive increases physical damage by 1.5 times, and Hired Help Veterans, even though it doesn't use your stats, it is based off the defense of your opponent. So I'm going to use Veterans to take out the ads here, and this is going to unlock Gideon's weakness, so that this next set of Veterans here will deal more damage, and 2 sets of Veterans will be able to take Gideon out. So that was a really fast fight. You don't always get that good turn order, so sometimes you have to do a free turn fight. But in that case, we got a bit lucky, and we are able to do Gideon pretty much the fastest fight possible there, so that's really pog. And that's the reason why you saw me take off the knowledge stuff, because in that fight, I don't want Cyrus to be fast. I want Cyrus to be slow so he can go after Gideon and kill the ads after he spawns them. And I give the Viper Dagger to Therion because it's gonna allow him to go first. It's gonna give him a lot of speed. So he's gonna be able to go first before Cyrus, and before Cyrus, so that he's able to get the Armor Corrosive off. Increases the chance of you having that fast fight. Also, that screen usually gives you an encounter, but I skipped it because I'm gaming. So that was really nice. Didn't have to run from that encounter there. It's very easy to break though, so like no big deal. But it's a nice time save. So I'm gonna challenge this guy here. This challenge actually resets the step counter. You saw me do it just now, but I forgot to mention it. But I'm actually gonna take out this challenge because it's gonna allow us to complete a quest, and this is gonna give us more money. So while we're challenging him to reset our step counter, might as well, you know, just chuck a stone at him and take him out. It also gives us a critical nut, and nuts are like, what do I say, like Pokemon, like, you know, vitamins, increases your stats permanently. And a critical nut is going to be useful because it's going to increase critical rate, which is going to give us more damage. So we're going to attack Orwell because obviously we're going to have to go back there, and now we're going to go to Riverford. Albrecht Chapter 4 town. Also some really nice items here that we want to pick up before we do the rest of Therians Chapter 2. So yeah, I should explain some of the skills I taught just now as well. there's a lot going on, so forgive me if I'm not able to get all the explanation out in time. I scrutinized this fire L here because we don't have a lot of stones in this run, so we're gonna make use of scrutinize as much as we can to get stones that are reasonable to get. Gonna pick up another stone there. I'm gonna go to Refuge Ruins. It's gonna... Oh no, unlucky. I got the encounter here. It's not very common, but you do get it sometimes. So unfortunately, gotta take the L here. But yeah, this gives me more time to actually explain that menu back in Query Quest. So I taught a bunch of skills, so obviously hired help to Cyrus. You already know what that does. Armor Corrosive I've explained. Insight, which I used at the start of the battle, draws all attacks to the person using it. So Albrecht, if you recall, we gave him all that armor and we set him up to be a tank. He's going to be using Insight to absorb attacks for the entire party, so he's going to keep our party safe. And then Leghold Trap, which I taught to Alphen, is a skill which makes your opponent act last on the subsequent turn. So it's very useful for setting up breaks and making sure that you're able to finish off the bosses before you can they can deal damage to you. I'm gonna do another buffer here because we want to pick up the items here. Enchanted Rod, which we're gonna sell just for money. It's a nice staff, but we already have the knowledge staff, which is a lot stronger. We want to pick up the Force Shield here because it's one of the strongest shields in this game, and it's gonna make Albrecht a lot tankier. So now we're gonna come to Noble Quad again. Gonna do the rest of Therians Chapter 2. Gonna do the Scrutinize here, which is kind of infamous because it's like 30%. But fortunately, I do get it pretty fast. Now, Thieving Tips and Tricks. This is important because it's gonna give us a very high chance to steal items here. And I'm going to steal the Empowering Ring there because it's going to give us more HP, more bulk for our characters. And now we're going to do some of the steals that are required for the story, like this guy. There's a bottle of water, which we want for some reason. And I'm going to steal a Curious Bloom here, another concoct ingredient that's going to be very important for some of the fights later. And that Scrutinize that we did just now was for another large soulstone here, which are, like I said, are a limited resource. So we're going to try to get those that are pretty fast to get. And now on this screen, I'm going to steal another quest item here. Oh my gosh. Let's go, Therion. You can do it. There we go, buddy. Yeah, it's 80%, but you know, Therion being Therion, he isn't the most reliable of characters. So we got another menu here. Give the Nourishing Nut, which we stole in Boulderfall, to Albrecht. Critical Nut to Alphen to increase his crit. I'm gonna give you back the Knowledge Staff, and I'm gonna give you the Empowering Ring, and then I'm gonna optimize the Force Shield and the Blade onto you. I'm gonna give you this, and HP Thief, and I'm just gonna... I believe, yeah, you got this. And then you get 2 Dancer skills, and then you get Spearhead. Oh yeah, I'm gonna give you Hunter just for more attack. You know, you don't need that now. Cover and Show Goes On, Heightened Senses, and yeah, don't forget to heal. There we go. So yeah, now we're back on the first screen. We can do this last Inquire, and then we can go to the next screen. So the Nourishing Nut, which we stole in Boulderfall, increases your max HP, and the little bit of HP that's going to give Albrecht is going to be very important because it's going to allow him to survive a fight later, which otherwise he will not be able to survive. Also, I get this encounter here, which is unlucky. Probably gonna die here, but nothing much I can do about it, really. Yeah, I'm not getting out of this. So yeah, Albrecht's like really tanky right now, so he's actually not taking much damage, which is actually bad. because I want to die quickly so I can try again. Alright, there you go. So I taught a bunch of skills in that menu as well. Most importantly, I gave Therion HP Thief, which he's going to be using to deal a lot of damage with his best friend, the Viper Dagger. I gave Elfin a bunch of skills. Show Goes On, which is a dancer support skill that increases his buff duration by 1. And... oh, again. Unlucky. Oh, I surprised him. Alright, that's really good. So yeah, I also gave Elfin a support skill known as Heightened Senses. This gives me a higher chance of getting a preemptive on my opponent, which gives me a guaranteed escape. So nice to see that it's actually coming to play here, although I would have preferred to not get the encounter in the first place. But it does happen, so nothing much I can do about it. Now we're gonna do this fight. So I gave Albrecht the Force Shield to make him beefier, and also the Forbidden Blade, which also gives him a lot of speed. So he's gonna be able to go before our enemies most of the time, but he seems to be kind of slacking this time, so I'm gonna give him benefit of the doubt. Maybe he'll do a better job next time. I'm gonna use Insight anyway to take off. Yeah, no, this is fine. Alright. I'm gonna use Insight to draw Vanessa's attack. Alright. And I'm gonna use Vets to take out the ads. Yeah, we want Armor Corrosive on Vanessa to increase the Vets damage, and we're gonna set up Armor Corrosive again so that we have enough stacks to last to the next turn. And I'm gonna use yeah, here we go. I'm gonna use him to break Vanessa here. And we're going to use the first Concoct here. So it's going to allow Elfin to take off 2 shields for Vanessa, which is very useful because normally you have to boost to take off shields. And yeah, HP Thief really chunks Vanessa quite a bit. You don't need to do anything. Amputation, which is a very strong axe skill. Pretty much guaranteed critical, which is a 1.25 times multiplier. And on top of that, we have Lion Dance to increase our damage by another 1.5 times. So that's going to deal a lot of damage to Vanessa. Just going to pick up the stone here. And now we're going to finish up Therians Chapter 2. So yeah, that's the reason why we had to go to Noble Court beforehand. Because we want that Empowering Ring for bulk, basically. Now we can do this. We can do the rest of this story. So yeah, we got one more reputation here. Hopefully Therion doesn't fail this. Reputation is like tries that you attempts that you have to use rogue path actions like Therion's. So certain path actions like Cyrus and Therion's, they are like based off percentages, so you can use them all the time, but there's a chance they might fail, and if they fail, you lose 1 reputation out of the 5 that you have when you go into a new town. And if you fail all 5, you have to go to the tavern to restore your reputation by paying a bunch of money. So this is another Mans type dungeon, and if you recall, Mans type dungeons don't reset your step counter on the next screen, so I'm gonna have to quit and reload the autosave to reset my step counter. And this is gonna allow us to get to the end here without getting an encounter. You can actually make it to the end even if you don't do the save and quit, but it's pretty frequent that you're gonna get the encounter. So this is just to be safe. So yeah, this next boss here, Orlik,
get this over.
Pretty much just gonna rinse and repeat the strat that we used on Vanessa. And there we go, Albrecht. Good job. So he's going first, so he's gonna be using Insight to draw the attacks from the characters. Armor Corrosive.
Here we go.
Yeah, Lion Dance again to increase damage. And yeah, attack's good. Like, they can use Slash, which, yeah, as you can see, deals a lot of damage. And if you get slashed a bunch of times and Orlik decides to use Magic Missile, it can actually kill Albrecht. But it's not that big of a deal because you can just revive him and Albrecht. And Orlik doesn't deal that much damage anyway. And Injure C.
How do you like this?
So Concoct's really useful here to take off shields. I taught Albrecht Spearhead. This is a skill that not only puts Albrecht at the start of the next turn, it also deals 1 hit of spear damage. So Orlik has 7 shields, we use Spearhead to take off 1, Concoct to take off 2, and then on the next turn we break Orlik with 4 hits of spear. So now we can do this, another menu. Nope, not that. So I'm going to teach Therion free merchant skills. And Cyrus is going to get Firestorm. And you are going to get Last Stand and Hunter. And you are going to get 1,000 Spears, and now you're going to be the merchant. Yeah, you get this and this. Don't need to kill Albrecht. This should be fine. Yeah, so that menu is important because I taught a skill known as Endless Items to everyone. And this is going to be the main way we're going to try to save resources in this run. So Endless Items, what it does is that every time you use an item, there's a 25% chance that you get that item back. So that's very useful because you can actually route fewer resources than you actually need, like soulstones, to save time, and then assume that you can save them through endless items. And if you don't, you can just spend a bit of time and go and pick them up. No big deal. So yeah, the Master Spear here is going to be very useful, because it's going to give Albrecht a lot of damage to take out these challenges. The other method is to use stones, which is kind of a limited resource, so that's why I'm not using them. Like I said, we kind of want to save our stones because they're pretty limited. So Abide's like Lion Dance, except it only applies for Albrecht. Good thing is it lasts for 3 turns, so you can actually use Abide, break your enemies, and then have 1 more turn with the buff. So Albrecht doing a lot of damage here with his Master Spear. In some of the longer categories, you actually have a lot of money, and you're able to actually chuck vets at these challenges. Which is kind of funny because, you know, Albrecht's supposed to be kind of like this honorable swordsman, and instead he's just like flexing his money on everyone. Alright, so the interesting thing about Albrecht's Chapter 2 is that there isn't a dungeon. It's kind of just like this gauntlet of mini bosses. The first one here is Victorino. He comes with 2 ads, and you're gonna want to break the ads because they kind of deal a lot of damage. So Lightning Blast there will break the ads. And I'll use Level Slash here because I need that bit of extra damage. And just gonna... yeah, he's weak to wind, so gonna use the Concoct here. Take off the remaining shields. And then now we can just take him out from there. So yeah, Cyrus's spells actually don't have enough damage if you don't use the level slash. Anyway, you need the hit from... You need the damage from level slash anyway. Oh, you need the hit from level slash to take off one shield from Victorino. That's what I was meant to say. But a pretty simple fight nonetheless. And now we're gonna go into the arena. And this is gonna be a series of mini bosses before the final boss. There are 3 fights here, the last one is the boss. And I'm gonna scrutinize this stone here. This is a very important stone to pick up, because it's an ice stone, and those are really limited in this game in general. Ice stones are kind of like a mythical item that very few people have seen, apparently. So yeah, definitely nice to have an ice stone there. Inside. We're gonna want the ice stone specifically for a forced encounter later, because it's gonna give us a lot more damage than a stone that doesn't hit for the weaknesses.
Here we go.
So yeah, Albrecht's so tanky that he's not taking any damage from those guys. And we're just gonna flex our capitalism here. Take Victorino. This guy's Joshua, yeah, take Joshua out. Oh, I didn't get any stone drops. So the ads can drop stones, which are a nice bonus, but I didn't get any because I'm not very lucky. This next guy is Archibald.
I will not fail.
And oh, this is not actually very good. Let me see what I want to do here. I think it should be fine. So what I want to do is I want to use 2 stones here to take out the ads. Oh yeah, that's fine. That's totally fine.
Take this.
Yeah, because Archibald's gonna use an AoE attack here, and it's gonna deal like quite a bit of damage to everyone. So I just want to make sure everyone's healthy. But of course, if they hit Albrecht, he's gonna be fine. So no issue there. Yeah, bro. Yeah, afterwards, it's like weak to everything. Everyone has something that they can break Archibald with, so this is, you shouldn't have any issues taking him out. And I just want to break him on turn 2, and then on turn 3 you can use fully boosted attack from everyone. Oh, that wasn't a crit. It's gonna take him out, should be.
Thus ends your lesson.
Yeah, you should have studied harder, Archibald. Right, I'm gonna do like the safety save here, because this next boss can be a bit troll if you get a bad turn order. Basically what you want to do is you want to take out the ads first, but the ads have this very annoying attack called Extreme Charge, which they can use when they're below half health. And Extreme Charge is more like extremely bad charge, because when they hit you, they can stun you, and that's really bad. But this is very good turn order. Basically, you just want people to go before the ads. And since Cyrus, Albrecht, and Therion are pretty fast with all the with the weapons, you should see them go before the ads most of the times. But sometimes you can get unlucky. Also, very nice. I got 2 EI procs from these 2 stones, so whenever you see EI working, you're gonna have like a glint. You're gonna have a glint beside your characters, so that just means I duplicated the item. So we use Leg Hold there to make sure that everyone can go before Gustav, so we can break him, and now it's really easy, just use 1 set of veterans.
Don't start things you can't finish.
So Albrecht's blade, he likes to say that his blade's unbending, but what he really means is that his wallet is unbending. His wallet is unbending because all that money inside is making his wallet so stiff. Alright, so... Oh, I got stuck there. I have to go back to the first screen of Victor's Hollow to finish up the story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Riverford here because I'm going to want to pick up more money in this Warbringer Shrine. And I'm also going to pick up... I don't think I got a... I'm just going to check. No, I don't have the Revitalizing Jam. So I'm going to want to pick up this 30,000 leaves here, and then I'm going to pick up another item called the Revitalizing Jam, or Rev Gem for short. This is a very important item to pick up because it's going to make one of the fights later possible. Basically what it does is that it replenishes your BP fully. Well, it replenishes HP, SP, and BP fully, but the BP is what we want. So it's going to give 5 BP to whoever we use it on, and all of that 5 BP is going to be used. And you can actually get it as a drop from the mysterious knight that we challenged on the way to Orwell. But it's like a 30% chance, so you're not able to get that most of the time. So if you don't, you can just get the one in the Warbringer Shrine, which does put you at a small risk of getting an encounter, which is why it's always nice to get that Rev Gem from the Mysterious Knight challenge. So yeah, now we're gonna go to another area, Northreach. And we're gonna want to go there because Therians Chapter 4 is gonna be there. And since we are in Victor's Hollow, which is the closest town that we have access to, we're gonna go there after Albrecht's Chapter 2 while we're there in Victor's Hollow. And along the way, I'm gonna go to make a quick detour to pick up more money in Maw of the Ice Dragon, which is the premier grinding spot in this game. So if you're doing a casual run and you're needing a place to grind, definitely come to Maw of the Ice Dragon. It's by far the best place to grind. The encounters here give a lot of XP and JP, and there's a very good chance that you can run into Kates here. In fact, Kates have a the highest chance of spawning in Maw of the Ice Dragon, and you can get the fabled triple Kate encounter, which is pretty common in Maw of the Ice Dragon, which gives you a ton of XP and JP. So definitely do go there if you want to do some grinding in your casual playthrough.
I'll make this quick.
Right, so this encounter here, we always run into it.
No, you don't.
It's a very long screen, so we're always gonna be able we're always gonna run into this encounter. But the good thing is it's always the same, so we know exactly what to do. And these guys are weak to bandits, axes, so we're gonna be able to use hired help bandits to break them. And because hired help is AoE, we're gonna be able to use bandits to break both of them at the same time and run from there. So another use of hired help, which I forgot to mention, is that it's also very useful for breaking enemies because it comes in a variety of weapon types. So bandits, axes, or mercs, or swords. Veterans are also swords, but you don't want to use veterans to break stuff. And dancers, which we aren't going to use this run, but those are daggers. So now we're going to do Therians Chapter 3.
Hey.
So because I got EI procs on my L-stones are the primary resource that you want to save through endless items. So saving Curious Blooms can also be nice. But mainly you want to save L-stones, and because I got L-stone procs in Albrecht's Chapter 2, I can actually skip having to pick up the stone later. So that's what I mean by routing fewer resources than we actually need. Because we chuck 4 stones in Albrecht 4, and it's a 25% chance to proc EI. On average, you will be able to save 1 stone, which is all you need to not have to pick up the stone later. Basically, you want 1 EI proc before Albrecht's chapter, by the end of Albrecht's chapter 2. Otherwise, you have to spend 16 seconds to go and get a large soulstone in Wellspring. So we saved ourselves 16 seconds by using endless items.
You ready for this?
Alright, so you can use bandits. It's gonna do some damage to them. We're gonna use Cyrus to take these guys out. But like I said, speed is not very reliable, so of course Cyrus goes last. A passing grade for Cyrus. Obviously not good enough though. Right, so I'm gonna want to heal Albrecht up because he took some damage from the lizards just now. This next fight can be dicey if Albrecht doesn't go before the ads, because the ads deal a lot of damage and they can actually kill some of your party members if you get unlucky. So mainly you want to see Albrecht to go before the ads. And that's really nice because Albrecht's going before the ads. Oops. Okay. Yeah. Blizzard to take off 2 shields. And I'm gonna use boost defend. So boosting Albrecht's defend not only puts you first on the next turn, but it also draws all attacks to him. So it's gonna allow Albrecht to protect everyone in the party. And I'm gonna give him a pomegranate here to replenish that BP. And now I'm gonna use veterans. So Gareth here, even though he's a chapter 3 boss, he actually doesn't have a lot of HP. In fact, he only has 39,000 HP, which is actually lower than a chapter 2 boss. Well, one of the chapter 2 bosses. Which is why I could use veterans there to break him. I don't need the extra damage. So this should be able to take him out.
With each battle, I grow stronger.
So yeah, so after Therion's chapter 3, we're back in Boulder Falls, so we're gonna use this time to go to the shop here. We're gonna purchase a status item. And actually no, I don't need to go here. I'm actually doing a different money route for this marathon. And yeah, I actually don't need to do that shop, so it's fine. But now we're back in Wellspring to do Albrecht's chapter 3. And one of the reasons why we do Therion's chapter 2 first, chapter 3 first, is because it puts us back in Boulder Falls so we can warp back to Wellspring. If we do Albrecht's chapter 3 first and then we want to do Therion's chapter 3 first, we'd still be in Wellspring, so we have to leave and then come back to Wellspring to do Therion's chapter 3. So that's why I have Therion's chapter 3 first, so we can take advantage of the warp back to Boulder Fall. So we have 2 forced encounters here. That's where we need the ice soulstone for. This first one we don't. So I can just use any soulstone to take them out. Oh my gosh, Cyrus, why are you so slow? Do I have enough M stones? Should be fine. So yeah, use 1 L and 1 M to take these guys out. And then the next one you want to use the Ice L and 1 M stone or Cyrus's Blizzard. Cyrus, please go first. Okay, that's good enough. Can use the Ice L here. Yeah, these guys have about 4,000 HP, so that's where you need the extra damage. The first one has about 3,000 or so. So if you didn't have that Ice L, you have to use 2 L stones. So having that Ice L is really very useful for saving resources. Okay, so this next boss is the Lizardmen Chief. Some of us like to call him the Lizardmen Chief, but I like to call him the Komodo Hype or PogChamp, because just look at him. He looks like Komodo Hype. Okay, jokes aside, I'm gonna use mercenaries to take off one shield and buff our defense. I'm gonna defend with Cyrus, and then I'm gonna use the sword with Therion. Now I'm gonna use Alphin's Concoct with the Ruinous Seed. This is gonna allow him to take off 3 shields. And I actually got the E-Break proc, so that's really nice. So the one of the bonus effects you can get from that Concoct is you can drop the enemy's special defense, not Pokemon, elemental defense, and this just increases Cyrus's damage, so you don't have to attack with Alphin. Otherwise, you have to use like an amputation there. No. Yeah, veteran soldiers here. I get confused because this is a new fight. Recently changed this up. I used to do this fight with 2 sets of veterans, but realized that you can cut it down to 1 by shifting things around a bit, using a stone and using a lot more weapons for damage. Alright, so this guy, Earhart, is Albrecht's long lost buddy, finally found you, so let's have a nice talk. Have a nice duel. Just kidding, I'm gonna summon a bunch of veterans. Totally honorable, Albrecht. Alright, so that's Albrecht Chapter 3. Afterwards, I'm gonna steal some more concoct ingredients. Then it's off to Northreach. And now we're gonna do another menu, one of the most important menus here, because we're gonna give a very important item to Cyrus. So first thing do is take this off, and then wait a minute. Nah, it's jobs first. Okay. So I'm gonna give this, and then I'm gonna give this. And now you get this 2 skills, and then you get, I believe that should be it. So now I give you the Lizard King's axe and take off the ring, and you get the ring. And now I give the support skills, Hang Tough, Show Goes On, Hang Tough, Endless Items. I just realized you didn't have endless items, but whatever. Eagle Eye and Hang Tough. There we go.
You ready for this? Out of my way.
So I'm gonna Peacock Strut to buff Cyrus's damage. And I'm gonna give a Palm S to Albrecht here. Wait, Cyrus can die here if he's unlucky. Okay, we're good. So yeah, so giving the Palm S allows us to break the ads here. Or break them here. And now we're gonna use Lightning Blast with our newfound power in the Lizard King's axe. So that was a drop from the Lizardmen Chief. And what the Lizard King's axe does is that it increases our lightning damage by 30%. So that's really useful because it's gonna take Cyrus's damage from just being kind of mediocre to actually really, really strong. And that's the reason why we have to give him the Hunter class, because Cyrus can't equip axes normally, so we have to give him the Hunter class, which can equip axes. So yeah, Cyrus is going to be one of the main damage dealers from this point on. We've got him a great setup with the Lizard King's axe, the knowledge staff, and we also have a passive skill on him called Elemental Augmentation, which increases his elemental attack by a further 50 points. And essentially for every fight we're going to be buffing Cyrus's damage as well with Peacock Strut, which increases his elemental damage by 1.5 times. So now I want to come to Saintsbridge because I want to get some resources here before I start to do the rest of... Before I start to do like chapter 4s and stuff. So right after that encounter in Northreach, we are at level 23. So Therion's at level 20. No, not this guy. Therion's at level 23, and this brings the success rate of stealing large soulstones from NPCs from 15% to 55%. So all of a sudden, we're a lot more likely to steal stones from NPCs now. So that's the reason why we come to Saintsbridge now. So I have a good chance of stealing that stone there, which I'm gonna need for this upcoming boss fight, because I'm gonna want more stones. And now we're back in Northreach. Gonna do this Scrutinize and this Steal for some money items. And now we got the infamous 3%, which I didn't mention at all, but basically... Oops. Basically, this is a story item which you have to steal to progress. And it's 3% because the game actually intends you to be at a much higher level. So because we're doing this in a speedrun, Therion's at a very low level. So his steal kind of scales with his level. So at a low level, that item is only 3%. So this is a big point of variance in the run. And we're hoping that Therion gets his steal quickly. Good thing is, resetting reputation in this town only costs 1,000 leaves. In fact, it's the cheapest out of every single town in this game, even chapter 1 towns. So not an issue if you have to reset reputation. In fact, you have a lot of money for this section. We catered a lot of money for this section just because there's a lot of variance that can happen. So with 3% each steal, you have 5 tries. So each time, each reset gets you about 12%. Gives you about a 12% chance to steal the quest item here. So it's actually not that bad. It might sound intimidating, like, oh, 3%, you know. But if you look at it from a bigger picture, if you look at it at a bigger picture, it's actually not that bad. But it can be frustrating at times if you're on like PB pace. You can just lose a whole bunch of time here. So unfortunately we're not very lucky, so we don't get Fabled first try 3%. Which actually has happened to me quite a few times before. So I guess I used up all my luck already. So if we actually run, if we actually like use up a lot of money, we can actually get backup money later. So we won't run into any issues with money. We just have to do the steal and we can adjust accordingly from there. So Therion's not really doing his job here, you know. Therion's supposed to be a really good thief, you know. Tales of his extravagant heists have spread far and wide throughout the land and strike fear into the hearts of many of the rich and wealthy people. But can't steal this. Okay, well, to give him credit, he's trying to steal. He's basically trying to steal clothes off of someone who's already wearing them. Oh, so I got one more try. Yeah, he's trying to steal the pants off of someone. Yeah. Oh god, yeah. Oh well, guess I'll just let you do it again. Alright, let's give Therion some encouragement. I believe you can do it, Therion. So yeah, you can see why Therion is one of the most infamous characters when it comes to the speedrun. Like, reliable, he's far from reliable when it comes to the things he's supposed to do and the jobs he's supposed to do. Basically, the only time he does a good job is when the steals are 100% or unlocking purple chests, which is not based off a percentage. Yeah, but we kind of meme Therion because, like, we kind of meme Therion to be the worst boy because he's so important when it comes to, like, the steals he has to do and some of the... Yeah, the steals that he has to do often gives you, like, really good items, and there we go. But a lot of times he's just not feeling it. Alright, that was far from ideal, but we got through it. So now we're gonna sell items. And sell stuff shield. Yeah, that should be it. And now we're gonna give Alfin the Gareth's helm and then the crit bracelet. And we're gonna heal Albrecht up. Alfin doesn't need it. Alright, so in that shop... Hey, yeah, I know, right? That was the first try, 3%. Just don't tell them how many times I reset. So, in that shop, what I did was I bought a critical bracelet. So, if you've noticed, we've been stacking Alphen up with a lot of crit. And that's because we taught him Last Stand, which is another very strong axe skill. It's gonna be even stronger than Amputation when we set it up correctly. But the problem with Last Stand is that it doesn't have a critical modifier like Amputation, so we're gonna need to increase Alphen's critical through exogenous means. No, got this encounter. I haven't got this encounter in so long. Okay, but they're pretty easy to break, so I can just break them here with Albrecht.
What's the big idea?
Hey, yeah, very nice. Yeah, these guys are kind of dumb. So just try to lower our defense and we can just break them and run away. Alright, so this is Darius. And Darius starts off the turn with a very strong attack that will kill everyone. Oh, but everyone survives at 1 HP.
Peacock strut.
You know, what gives? So we actually gave everyone a skill known as Hang Tough. Hang Tough is a skill which allows you to survive any attack with 1 HP. As long as you're above 30% of your health. So I'm going to defend with Albrecht here because I want him to go before Alphen next turn. And this is where we're going to use the Revitalizing Jam, which I mentioned. So right after this Veterans, Albrecht's going to have 0 BP. So now I'm going to use the Revitalizing Jam. And also Lightning Blast is going to deal a ton of damage here because we've set Cyrus up really well. Give him the Revitalizing Jam. And now I'm going to Peacock Strut you again. And this sets Cyrus up for the rest of the battle. It's going to give him enough stacks to last through the entire fight. And Hang Tough, basically you can use Hang Tough as many times as you want as long as you're above 30%. So by keeping everyone healthy with the Healing Great Bunch, I was able to refresh Hang Tough. So it's a really, really busted skill, and it's gonna allow us to cheese a lot of the bosses. Because a lot of the Chapter 4 bosses that are in this category use single hit AoE attacks. Shadow. Yeah, they use single hit AoE attacks. So it's very easy to survive them with Hang Tough. And this is where Last Stand really shines, because Last Stand deals damage inversely proportional to your HP. So with Alphen at 1 HP, which is very easy to set up with all the AoE attacks that are going on, Alphen's going to be able to deal a lot of damage with Last Stand.
Try again.
Yeah, and that was Darius with only 2 veterans. So normally in the single story, the shorter runs, since you don't have all the weapons, you use 4 sets of veterans to take out Chapter 4 bosses. But since we're so strong, we are able to use only... Where do I go now? Since we're so strong with all our weapons, we only need 2 sets of veterans. So yeah, Last Stand is a really, really useful skill. Because, like I mentioned, it's going to be very easy to set up Alphen at 1 HP with all the AoE attacks that the bosses are going to do. And that's just going to allow Alphen to chunk a lot of the bosses very easily. So Elfin's Chapter 3 is kind of similar to Therians Chapter 2. There are a lot of cutscenes and you have to go back and forth between the first and second screen. So that's why you see me going in and out of Saintsbridge to do the quest while I do other things. So right now I'm gonna do Cyrus's Chapter 3. And we delayed Cyrus's Chapter 3 till now because after Darius, the stones go from 55% to 65% steals. So by doing Cyrus's Chapter 3 now, I can have a higher chance of stealing the L stones here. So it's a nice optimization which makes the run a bit more consistent, but every bit of consistency helps in a run like this because come on, you're relying on, oh no, yeah, it's steal. Come on, you're relying on Therion. That's not something that you want to do all the time. You want to give Therion the best chance that he has, because you know he's gonna screw it up anyway. Another quiz here after scrutinizing them. And are gonna steal a few more stones. Basically, you just need Therion to hit his steals and you don't have to worry about stones. Very good job, Therion. So yeah, endless items is kind of nice to have, just in case you don't hit some of these steals, so that you're able to not completely rely on Therion. So Cyrus's Chapter 3 is kind of infamous, especially if you're running a single story. Cyrus's Chapter 3 boss, Yvonne, is probably the hardest Chapter 3 boss in this entire game. And he's even harder than some of the Chapter 4 bosses. So I'm actually going to make a safety save here, because if I get a very bad turn order, I can actually die here. Not to mention that the screen is also kind of dangerous. So the main danger here are the ads. Yvonne himself doesn't do much, but the ads can be very dangerous, like right here. This is kind of Monka actually. So I'm just gonna do what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to give Albrecht a Palm L here. And then I want to break the ads with Bandits and Lightning Blast. So hopefully I don't get Tornado here. That's fine. That is totally fine. So the ads have the skill called Tornado, and it's an AoE attack.
How do you like this?
So it bypasses Albrecht's cover. Oh, I also didn't mention cover. Yeah, I'll mention cover later because it's gonna be very relevant later. And I'm just gonna chuck my stones at them. Also nice props. Oh, I didn't. Oh my gosh. Ah, I messed up. I forgot to. I did the fight a bit wrong. I'm gonna reset this fight. I made a very minor error that basically just made me a bit short of damage. But yeah, you can see why these ads are so dangerous, because Tornado hits everyone, it does a lot of damage. So if you're already under 30% and they use Tornado again, it's gonna get a lot of your characters. So this is a lot better. This fight is basically free now, as long as I remember to do it correctly. So what I'm supposed to do is I'm actually supposed to boost Cyrus here. This gives him a bit more damage, so I'm able to take out the ads. So just one small step that I missed out actually caused me to be just a bit short of damage. But this should be fine now.
Have a taste of this.
So yeah, now we take out the ads and then we set Yvonne up. Armor corrosive. And now I want to Lion Dance Alphen, so he's gonna get a lot more damage off of this amputation. And now we're gonna collect. Just get more money. You don't have to do anything. So yeah, if let's say Therion goes after Alphen, then you have to Lightning Blast with Cyrus there just to make sure you have enough damage. Because you lose a bit of damage from the Lion Dance. Injury scene. We're also collecting some of the bosses here just to get a bit of extra money. Actually, a lot of the bosses in this run cannot be collected, but the ones that can be collected, we try to collect them as much as we can. Because Chapter 3 bosses and Chapter 4 bosses have a lot of money. And that's very useful for the money route. Because collect is extremely fast and it's... And you can just do it. You don't have to go out of your way to collect them, you can just do it in the fight itself. So I believe Yvonne and Darius are the only bosses we collect in this run. So we collected Darius just now because he has a lot of money. He's a master, he's a thief after all. And Yvonne here also has quite a bit of money. So now I believe we'll go here first. Yeah, so luckily I did do the safety save outside. Because there's a small chance that things could go wrong. In that case, it was completely because I made a mistake. So the safety save did help me out quite a bit there, so I don't have to go through the screen again. Alright, so I have to go back to the previous screen, so gonna just warp back to Saintsbridge, so the next time I'm in Riverford I can go back to, I'll be on the first screen in Riverford. Yeah, we're gonna do Alphen's Chapter 3 now, gonna finish it finally after all that warping in and out. So Miguel here, nothing much to say. He's one of those bosses that don't do anything. So a lot of bosses in this game, not in this run specifically, but in this game, like in other categories, you see some of these bosses. They like to just do nothing at the start of the fight. They just try to increase their number of turns on the next turn by sacrificing their first turn. So sorry about that. So we can just take advantage of that and break them before they even do anything. So if I get the defense drop here, which I don't, so this Concoct has a chance to get me a defense drop. If I get the defense drop there, I can save an L stone by using an M stone instead. But now I have to use Armor Corrosive with Therion. And you have to use an Hellstone.
Have a taste of this.
Here goes nothing.
The battle I play is un.
Yeah, pretty simple fight here. At this point of the game, we're really strong, so I mean, these bosses are not gonna be much of a problem for us. And you can see Cyrus is doing so much damage here because of all the buffs that we have, all the setup that we have done with him.
Try again.
And I believe that's all the chapter 3s. So we are only left with 2 more chapter 4s. Albrecht Chapter 4. No, Fremar Chapter 4. So Albrecht Chapter 4, Cyrus's Chapter 4, and Alphen's Chapter 4. We're going to do Cyrus's one first. Before that, we're going to make a quick pit stop to Clearbrook. Going to pick up a few resources. So what we're going to pick up here are concoct materials. So I'm going to inquire that person. And then I'm going to steal a Curious Bloom here. So I'm gonna be picking up 2 essences of pomegranates in Clearbrook here, and if you're familiar with pomegranates, they instantly replenish BP. So Essence of Pomegranate is the concoct material version of that, and that's gonna allow Alphen to deliver BP to your characters using his concocts. And this concoct is really strong because if we combine Essence of Pomegranate with Purifying Dust, which is a very strong concoct ingredient, we can give 2 BP to everyone, so it's essentially a Pom M to your entire party. And that's very good because normally pomegranates only apply for 1 character, but in this case with Alphen's concocts we can give it to 4 characters in a single turn. So we're gonna take very good advantage of that concoct to make this next fight a lot easier for us. So Cyrus's Chapter 4 boss is Lucia, and Lucia has kind of a gimmick where she gives herself 30 shields at the start of the fight, and she also gets a lot of defense. So we're not going to be able to deal any meaningful damage to her while she is not broken. So the main plan, the game plan, is to slowly whittle down her shields and then deal all the damage we need to do in those 2 turns that she's broken. I'm gonna make a save here just in case, because in some ways this fight can go wrong. Basically, Rain of Arrows and Thousand Spears are skills that can hit between 3 and 7 times, and we're gonna need at least 2 extra hits, assuming everything else hits 3 times. So Lucia always does the same moves on every turn. It's just the order is random, so we can plan around that. So what we do is we insight first with Albrecht. This is going to draw all the single target attacks to him. And then for the AoE attack sweep, we use a AoE healing concoct to give everyone HP so they can survive it with Hang Tough. And now I need to heal Albrecht back up because he's gonna need all that HP to survive both the hits here. So Insight protects everyone from that attack so that everyone lives this sweep. And that Curious Mist also protects Albrecht from any bad statuses, because on this turn Lucia can use an attack that can stun Albrecht. So we don't want that to happen. That's why we use Curious Bloom, Essence of Grape. So now we heal everyone. Oh no, I used the wrong move again. So I'm just gonna do a quick wipe here. I was very caught up in explaining the fight here because there's a lot that's going on here, and I want to make sure that everyone's getting all the information and all the setup. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into planning this fight because it's such a difficult fight to route for, and this fight is probably one of the coolest fights when it comes to strats, so that's why I really want to explain it for everyone. Alright, so let's do this again. We use Echo Trap to make sure we always go before Lucia, so we can heal up before she does anything. We use Insight to draw all the single target attacks. And now we start to take off a bit of shield, a few shields with HP Thief. And we use this to give BP to everyone. So this is a smaller version of the BP Concoct. Okay, that's 3 hits, so no extra hits so far. And we heal Albrecht up. 1000 spears to take up more shields, and that is 1 extra hit, so we need 1 more. Furious Mist here, so this allows everyone to survive sweep. And because we have Insight, everyone's not gonna get hit by that normal attack except Albrecht. And this also protects Albrecht from the stun attack that she's gonna use this turn. So more Rain of Arrows. Now I'm gonna use Lion Dance to buff Therion, because he's gonna be using HP Thief later to deal damage. And now, okay, I have to use Purifying Dust with Essence of Grape. So this will give everyone a full heal. Alright, so we have enough hits now. So we don't have to worry about getting extra hits now. So this last turn is gonna be... This is the last turn that we're gonna take damage. And again, we're protected from Wallop, which is the move that can stun Albrecht. And this is the last turn that we're gonna take damage, because then we're gonna sidestep with Albrecht, and this is gonna protect him from all physical attacks. Gonna set up Armor Corrosive, just to give ourselves more damage. And now take off more shields. And because Albrecht has a skill called Cover on him, this allows him to absorb physical attacks for everyone that's under 30% HP. So right now, just take off your remaining shield. And this is why Lucia is not going to be able to touch anyone from this point forward, because she only does single target attacks on these 2 turns. So because we know that, we can just protect everyone with cover and sidestep. And now we break her with Rain of Arrows. So now in these 2 turns, we're going to deal all the damage that we need. So we use 2 sets of Veterans. And HP Thief with Therion. He's already buffed up from the Lion Dance, so he's going to deal a lot of damage. And Lucia also set Elfin up for Last Stand because of the sweep that she did. So we're going to be dealing a lot of damage with Elfin as well. And we also buffed Cyrus up, so he's going to be dealing some good damage with his Lightning Blast here as well. And 1 more Last Stand here, we'll be able to take Lucia out. There we go, that's how the fight's supposed to be done. So yeah, a lot of things to explain in that fight. That's why I kind of got a bit confused, but it's all good. So now after that fight, we have to like this is like the last part of Cyrus's story. Before we actually finish his chapter, we have to do a few more scrutinizes. And something interesting that I haven't explained is that the rules of this category state that you must end with the first character that you started with. So we started with Cyrus, so we are supposed to end with Cyrus, but how come we're doing Cyrus's story not last? So the interesting thing about Cyrus Chapter 4 is that before you actually finish it, you can actually warp out of Dust Barrow. So you actually can complete Cyrus's Chapter 4. You can actually kill Lucia, and then do something else that you can do the rest of like the chapter 4s that you haven't done yet. And then you can go back and finish Cyrus Chapter 4 later. So this gives us a lot of flexibility when it comes to planning our bosses, which is very nice because Lucia gives us a pomegranate L, which is very useful. And then you also pick up a lot of money in the dungeon, which you don't need all that money for Lucia. So by doing Lucia first, you can actually use that money that you pick up for the rest of the bosses that we're gonna be doing.
Well then.
And Lucia is also the last fight where you need armor on Albrecht, because you needed that armor on Albrecht so that he was able to live. Remember those turns that Lucia did 2 attacks, a sweep and an attack? You needed that armor so that Albrecht lives the stronger attack at above 30% HP so that the next attack doesn't take him out. You needed that armor and also the nourishing nut that we stole in Borderfall and gave to Albrecht somewhere in the middle of the run. So now we steal this pomegranate. And now we don't need the armor anymore, so we can just take everything off and sell it for money. And yeah, we have enough money. We don't need to sell everything yet. We don't need a lot of money for this upcoming boss. We just need like 60,000 or so. So yeah, we don't need the armor anymore, so we can just sell it for money, because from this point forward, Albrecht doesn't need to tank anymore. He can just rely on Hang Tough to survive attacks. So Werner here has, first of all, he has a horse in his mansion. But another thing he can do is that he can actually terror people. And terror is very bad because it prevents you from using boost points. So we use Curious Mist there to protect everyone from terror here. Curious Mist is an AoE status protection, so it's really, really good. And Lightning Blast. Like a stone here for some damage. Element doesn't matter. Set up armor corrosive for the rest of the fight. And this item we picked up from Darius. So Darius drops this red apple, which is essentially a revitalizing jam. It restores 5 BP to whoever you use it on. That's important because you want 5 BP on Albrecht so that after this vets, he has enough BP to break Werner later. So we Peacock Strut again, same setup. And then Soothing Dust again to protect everyone, because this next attack, he's gonna AoE sweep everyone. And you don't want anyone to get terrored. That's why you use Curious Mist here. And then now Therion will Lion Dance himself, so he gets more damage later. Gonna use the Concoct to take off free shields. And now, this is why the red apples was important. So now we must defend with Albrecht, while Cyrus restores his own BP. And now we have exactly 3 BP, so we can break Werner. And now we give Albrecht again a Palm L, so he gets even more BP, so that he's able to use one more set of vets. And Werner also set us up for last stand, so now we can just really unload all that damage on him. Therion's gonna do some work as well. Do some nice solid damage with HP Thief. And one more set of vets and one more last stand. And you can really see how strong last stand is. A ×3 boosted last stand is stronger than a ×4 boosted amputation at 1 HP. So that's why it's so valuable for this run. Alright, so I actually didn't dupe any Curious Blooms, so I'm gonna have to pick up 2 here, which is not a big deal because it's 100% steel. And now I'm gonna sell all my equipment. Well, almost all the equipment. I'm gonna need a bit of money. Oh. Ah, there we go. Oh, I'm a bit short on money. But it's fine, I can just pick up some money later. Okay, now we're good. I need a bit more money, but it's not a big issue. Yeah, because I spent a lot of money resetting reputation because Therion wasn't doing his job. But like I said, there's a lot of like backup money that you can get throughout the rest of this run, so it's not an issue. So I'm gonna get a bit more money later. You want 90,000 leaves for Ogre Eagle. Because you're gonna use 3 sets of veterans. In fact, Ogre Eagle is actually the only chapter 4 boss that we use more than 2 vets on in this run. The weapon's really putting in a lot of work. And the reason why Ogre Eagle we need so many vets is because, for one, Ogre Eagle has the most HP out of any chapter 4 boss. He also has the highest defense stat, so our veterans aren't going to be dealing quite as much damage to them as, for example, Darius.
I've always admired your...
So now we get to see Elfin travel back in time to miraculously recall a recipe that some stranger told him back when he was a kid. And now we can go off and fight Ogre Eagle. This is going to be our last boss in this run, but before I do that, I'm going to beat up this guy real quick. Because I need a bit more money.
Let us fight with honor. Have at
There we go.
you. Have a taste of
Any instant will take this guy out, and he gives you 11,000 leaves.
With each battle, I grow stronger.
Yeah, this guy's pretty funny because like yeah, he's like really sad, and he's like actually no. Yeah, basically to finish that quest you just need to beat him up and he comes to his senses. So I'm gonna do a save and quit here because the screen's pretty long. I don't want to get an encounter here. Okay, so Ogre Eagle is a pain to route for. I sold all my weapons because firstly I need the money. The second thing is because Ogre Eagle has this really annoying property where any one of his attacks can status people or debuff them. And they can debuff your physical attack. So if you get your physical attack dropped, suddenly you're dealing like 0 damage. It's really bad. And this is good because now I can protect everyone from status, so we're good. I'm gonna like hold you.
Out of my way.
But
Peacock strut.
he doesn't debuff your elemental attack, so Cyrus is good as far as damage is concerned.
Shall be mine.
Yeah.
Use this. Have at you.
Donate BP because Therion needs like just one more BP for the rest of this fight.
I see the defenses.
You need to heal Cyrus because later he is gonna use he's gonna use a double hit attack, so it's gonna bypass Hang Tough. Just ruin the seed, yeah. The sleep read that we stole. It's gonna bypass Hang Tough because the first hit's gonna put Cyrus below 30%. So that's why you need to heal him to give him that extra bit of HP to survive both hits. So now we're gonna use Curious Mist again. This is gonna give Cyrus enough HP to survive the two attacks coming up, and then we're gonna do Lightning Blast here. So Eagle has a lot of physical defense, but his elemental defense isn't as high. So Cyrus is still gonna be able to do quite a bit of damage to him. As you can see, the vets are doing like 5,800 per hit, compared to like 6,200 for the other bosses. Cyrus. So Cyrus and Albrecht get Bomb L's here. And now we're gonna use Sword to break. So not only does Ogre Eagle have the ability to status all of your characters, and he also has a lot of HP and defense. He also has only one weakness to ice at the start of the fight, which is really annoying because like you don't ice. Basically your best way of breaking him is with Cyrus's spells and with Alpin's Concoct. But for other categories, like if you don't have like characters that can hit elemental weaknesses, this can be really troublesome. Like if you're doing this in a casual playthrough and you don't have ice, Ogre Eagle can be a trouble because of his weaknesses, his lack of weaknesses. But because we know that, we can plan around that for the speedrun.
Where's the nearest tavern?
And there you go, that's Ogre Eagle. It's the last boss. And this is the last boss, but the run doesn't end here because, like I said, the timer ends after we finish Cyrus's cutscene, chapter 4. So the timer will stop at the moment the last skip cutscene bar fills up on the last cutscene of Cyrus's chapter 4. So right now we're gonna go back to Dust Barrow, and now we're gonna do Cyrus's. We're gonna do the last scrutinize, and then do one more quiz, and then that's the end of the run. So one thing that can really troll you is you can get an encounter on the way to the mural which you have to scrutinize, which has happened to me a few times before. But it's really not very common. So yeah, we're good. So 3 questions, so 3 cutscenes. So 1. Okay, that's 2 questions. So after this question, it's time. So time. Sorry, that was pretty quick, but yeah, that's the end of the run. Really cool run, and I'm happy that I was able to show off some of the strats. So really a mouthful, there's a lot to explain with the strats there and what's going on, so sometimes it did mess me up a bit, but I hope I explain everything clearly for everyone and you all were able to understand why we do certain things in this run. And I hope I was able to pique your interest for this game. It's really great game, some really nice music, combat system's amazing, art style is really phenomenal. So yeah, just a really solid game, and it's also a very good speed game because it's very easy to pick up. There are a lot of categories especially shorter categories like single story categories that are going to be they're like around they are like sub 1 hour, so it's very easy to get into. And like I said, every time you die you just reload at the previous screen, so you are going to be able to finish runs. So definitely a very good speed game to start out with. Definitely recommend it. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Just want to give some shout outs. So shout outs to the Octopath community. Really welcoming community that will be more than happy to get you started with your first speedrun. Shout outs to Sunny for shipping me his old graphics card so I could build my new PC. So yeah, I was streaming from a potato laptop before this, so because I was able to make a new PC, I could stream the PC version of Octopath today. Otherwise I would be running on the Switch, which is has the same gameplay, it's just a bit slower because of loading times. Shoutouts to Singaporean speedrunning community. And yeah, shoutouts to everyone who's helped me with this run. There's not a lot of people have run the half game category, so definitely appreciate the input from those who have. Alright, that's gonna be all from me. I hope you all enjoyed this run. And thank you RPG Limit Break and Questing for Glory for having me.